So what do you get when you mix Craig Sheffer in a HELLRAISER movie? Pretty much the same thing you get when you mix any leading actor in a HELLRAISER movie. This. HELLRAISER Inferno stars Craig Sheffer, James Remar, and is directed by Scott Derrickson. So what's up, guys? Before we get into this review, I'm going to post a link below, an Amazon affiliate link to the HELLRAISER Scarlet box set. You can buy that, and it will help out the channel, which I would really appreciate. But we're jumping back on the HELLRAISER reviews. I haven't done a HELLRAISER review in probably a month at least. I did Bloodline, and it was different. But one thing I constantly hear every time I finish a HELLRAISER review is, oh, you just wait until you get to the next one because it's going to be horrible. I heard that for the most part about Inferno. So what did I think? First, let's talk about the plot. So in HELLRAISER Inferno, Craig Sheffer plays Detective Joseph Thorne, and this is really one of those detective mystery, almost CSI type stories. Right away when you watch this, you're going to realize that this is far removed from the previous HELLRAISER movies. And from what I've heard, all the HELLRAISER movies, they're kind of in their own little storyline. It's like you could really take a HELLRAISER story because they're so contained that you could mix them in with anything, any environment. And that's what Inferno is, more than any of the previous movies. But this is really a murder mystery case. There is this killer called the Engineer, and he leaves behind a child's finger after every killing. And so Detective Thorne, played by Craig Sheffer, he is on the case trying to solve the mystery. And he's not really a good guy at all. He is married, he has a child, a daughter, but he's a horrible husband. He has an affair on her with a prostitute. And this is where the story really starts taking a left turn, because when he's with the prostitute, he finds the box or the lament configuration, and he opens it, and then it does what the box does. So throughout the rest of this movie, we know that this is kind of a psychological torture, whereas we haven't seen that as much in the previous movies. Most of the previous movies, it's straight up physical torture, but not in this one. This one, it's more psychological. The box is really messing with Detective Thorne's head, and it drives him to madness. Now, you know what? Let's start out with the cons. I like doing that from time to time, and we'll save the pros for after the cons. The big con for this, I gotta get this out of the way, is Pinhead is not in this movie very much at all. I think I counted maybe 2 minutes tops. So don't go into this movie wanting a Pinhead movie, because the story behind this movie is this was one of those Dimension scripts that was not a HELLRAISER script. So they killed two birds with one stone. They needed to make a new Pinhead movie, and this seemed like it could fit in that world. All they had to do was sprinkle a little Pinhead here and there and kind of tie in some of those the plot lines, and then it worked, and that's what they did. And so when you're watching this, it's painfully obvious, and it's kind of a con because it doesn't feel like the HELLRAISER that we know and love. If you watch the first HELLRAISER and then watch this movie, they feel like two completely different films. There are Cenobites in this movie. Not the ones that we know and love, but there are these, what I like to call Pan's Labyrinth Cenobites, even though this movie came out before Pan's Labyrinth, so I guess I have to give it credit for that. But that's what they look like. They look like something that you'd see out of a Guillermo del Toro movie. And they're supposed to be seductive. And that's just one of the many issues that Detective Thorne has throughout this movie. And now the second big con, this was the first HELLRAISER movie that went straight to DVD. That's not a con. There are plenty of straight to DVD movies that are actually really good, that don't go to theaters. But this one feels like that type of movie. It feels like a direct, low budget type of film. It's lit really nice, don't get me wrong, but it's just not up to that level of, say, the first couple movies. Clive Barker's vision in the first HELLRAISER it's fully cinematic in the best sense, whereas this one, not so much. But the director, Scott Derrickson, of this film, he is actually a pretty successful writer today. He wrote Sinister, he wrote Exorcism of Emily Rose, even recently penning Doctor Strange, which is a great segue into the pros. The story is actually pretty interesting, but it gets in trouble in the directing department. I think if a more seasoned director would have gotten a hold of this, then it could have been really good, because this really fits in with a lot of those serial killer thrillers that came out in the 90s after Silence of the Lambs and Seven. It's that type of story, and it's interesting enough that it could have been really effective. And a big reason for that, which brings me to the second pro, is Craig Sheffer. Craig Sheffer, he really runs this engine, and he is a fantastic actor. And I think it's easy to overlook that given the quality of this movie. But if you really just, set all that aside and just look at his performance in this, especially there's one scene where he is with James Remar, who is a psychiatrist. And that scene alone, where they're talking about the box and the lament configuration, and Craig Sheffer just kind of has a breakdown during that scene, and it's pretty remarkable to look at. But Craig Sheffer, he is one of those actors that really, sticks out. Many of you might not remember the movie Fire in the Sky, which was based on a true story about an alien invasion, but he was that really out there character in the movie that said, everything that happened was the truth, but you couldn't believe him because he was batshit crazy. Craig Sheffer played that character to a T. And also one of my favorite characters that he plays is in Some Kind of Wonderful with Eric Stoltz. He just plays the ultimate douchebag in that movie. You love to hate him. So big kudos to Craig Sheffer in this, actually. And also, before I give my rating, there is an ice cream truck in this movie, and my last review was for a movie called The Ice Cream Truck. And it's funny that two reviews in a row, I'm talking about an ice cream truck, and maybe they're starting to creep me out, because the ice cream truck guy in this movie, pretty damn creepy. But overall, guys, I'm gonna give this just a straight up humdrum. Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, and I'm hoping that some of the later Hellraiser movies are at least to this quality, and maybe I'll enjoy it. But it's definitely nothing to write home about. It's probably something that I won't watch again, unless I'm doing like maybe a Hellraiser, marathon, then I might watch it again. But, I can think of worse movies to waste 2 hours on. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Hellraiser Inferno? I know there's a lot of mixed reviews. When I posted this on Facebook and Twitter, I saw a lot of people saying they liked it and a lot of people saying they did not like it and they hated it. So it's gonna be interesting down in the comments. Also, speaking of my reviews, I created 5 new playlists because I originally had just Drumdums horror reviews, but I have so many horror reviews now, I think over 185 of them, that I broke it down into creatures, slashers, psychotic horror, evil things, and one other. But that's just gonna make your Drumdums experience that much easier. Also, guys, make sure you come over to Killer Flicks, become a member, where we talk horror all day, every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. We've been getting a lot of new subscribers in there lately. We're almost at 2,000 members now, so it's really cool. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.